Hello, it's Jeta, and today I thought I would talk to you a little bit about year 12 and sort of sixth form in general. Things that I wish I knew before starting year 12, mistakes I made which you may be able to avoid, and just generally like tips about how to make year 12 and sixth form as streamlined and successful as possible. I'm so hot right now. Even though it's been raining today, it's still very warm, and I had to close my window because it's so loud outside. But I'm really dying. So the first thing I wanted to address was the jump between GCSEs and A Levels. Before I started year 12, I watched loads of videos, as many of you may do, and everyone was saying that the jump was really huge and you're going to feel it. The teachers had been saying, you know, it's really hard, the jump is huge, and whilst yes, you are going to have to work hard in year 12 and there will definitely be a jump between GCSEs and A Levels, that's just a given. The jump is not as big as it's sort of made out to be. Don't underestimate it by any means, but also don't overestimate it, which I think I did. I think the reason why the jump is so big is because there are so many changes all at once, but the actual content in itself isn't hugely different. Teachers are going to sort of ease you into it, and at the beginning the content is not going to be much harder than what you experienced at GCSE, and then gradually you are going to feel it getting harder and harder. But in general, year 12 is manageable as long as you work hard. I don't think it needs to be a huge struggle, and it won't be as long as you organise yourself early on and have that focus and drive and really try hard to get yourself in a flow. Once you're in that state, I don't think you're going to have many difficulties. And then the second thing, which I think you should know, which sort of leads off from that, is that it's okay to struggle, and don't expect really high grades as soon as you start year 12. It will take you time to get used to your new teachers, to get used to the new style of learning, to get used to the new style of exam questions and essays. Like, all of this is going to take you time. And it may take you all of year 12, because honestly there are certain things which I still struggle with, but that's sort of what A Levels are all about. There are going to be some things which you just find so difficult and will take you so many months and maybe even a year or more to learn and perfect, but that's okay. And as long as you have a determined mindset, you will figure it all out. It will fall into place. You will have those epiphany moments, which I've had so many of this year. The most important thing is just to not give up. Then, the third thing to mention is folders. You will need so many folders. This is not even exaggeration. In fact, I will show you my subject folders. So this is my psychology folder. And this is not everything, because I actually have a little drawer down here, which I still haven't sorted out, filled with more stuff. It just didn't fit in my main folder. This is literally all of year 12 stuff, and it is just all my class notes, but this is not unusual. My English folder is just the same, and my history folder is even fuller, plus I've had to start a new folder. So the amount of content you get through is insane, so you actually need to get some folders. And what's also important is figuring out how to organise all these folders. I think it's good to find a system that works best for you early on, which is also going to be tailored depending on your teachers. So for history, my teachers were like, we want a folder for this, a folder for this. But for some subjects, your teachers won't give you any guidance, so you just have to kind of do what works best for you. I will upload a video, I think, closer to September, just sharing how I organise my sixth form folders. Not going to lie, I'm probably not the best person to ask on how to organise folders, because at the beginning of the year, yes, I had a great system that was working well for me, and by the end, my friends can tell you that I just had literal piles of sheets on my floor. Like, around mock season, all this part of my room up to the bookshelf was just like piles of sheets for different things, and like if I needed a past paper for history in the South Africa topic, I literally would have to rummage around and try and remember where they were, and that is appalling and so bad. Do not do that. It was so stressful. And yeah, keep things in a folder, don't ever let it get to that extent. But For the most of the year, I did have semi-organized folders. I just by the end got out of hand, which is why I think it's so important to get that organization right at the start of the year, because it's a lot. The fourth thing is please revise as you go. This includes all those mini topic tests and even like little quizzes that you do, because unlike at GCSE, you cannot get away with revising a week before, a day before, a night before your exams at A Levels. There is just too much content for you to do that, and so if you do not keep on top of it as you go throughout the year, you will never be able to catch up. And this is, you know, it sounds very dramatic, but genuinely it's just so difficult. I'm not saying to revise after every single lesson, although if you did that, I think you would be very well off in general. But I think as long as you try to recap a little bit after every couple weeks, make sure that you are making flashcards for those topic tests. By the time you do get to your mocks, you're going to have your revision resources. You're going to be recapping content, not learning it from scratch or like revising it for the first time. And so when exam season does come around, your life is just going to be a lot easier, but also you're going to be more likely to do well in your exams, because obviously the more times that you go over something, the more likely you are to remember it. So however you decide to revise for your subjects, which may very well change from what you did at GCSE because A Levels are just different, try to start revision early on because it can really help you out. And quickly on that note, last year I made a very similar video about things I wish I knew before going into year 10/11, and I did say in that video I'm strongly against notes. Don't write notes, it's a waste of time. And I still stand by that opinion at GCSE. I think that textbooks summarize the information really well, and so honestly you don't need to write notes because you already have the notes there. Even notes from your lessons are really good. But I wanted to say that I think that at A level, making notes can be necessary for some subjects. So for psychology, my teacher, who is literally amazing, I love my teacher. She is one of the best teachers I've ever had. And she basically made summary notes for every single topic, and in the lessons we go through these notes. Like, that is how the lessons are structured. The notes are very active, like there will be a little bit of information and then there'll be a question and there'll be a task and like lots of different things, and the notes are very condensed, and I didn't really need to do anything more with them. Like, I made flashcards from them, but I didn't need to summarize them any further. But for history, I found that sometimes making notes was quite necessary because there is so much content, and you often just sort of get sources to read and articles from historians and like booklets of just information. There isn't really summary notes in your folders or notes that you made in class, so I did have to make summary notes for one of my topics just because it worked well for that topic. So I did quickly want to mention that I'm not completely against notes at A level. You still have to do something with them to make them active. I think just making them isn't enough, but it can be necessary for some subjects to make the notes so that you have some form of summarized information. But yes, anyway, moving on. Tip 5 is use your freeze. And I know that so many people must have told you this already, but it is just so important. In my school, in year 12, half of your freeze, well, a bit more than half, are studies. And a study period is basically where you have to go and register in the study room, which is a silent study area, and you have to work there. And then for the rest of your freeze, you can leave school, go home, do whatever you want. In year 13, we don't have that. Everything is just freeze. But I would say, even if you only have freeze, go and find a silent study space if you have one at school, or go to a library and just sit down and work. The 6th thing is about coursework. Coursework can be so helpful because if you get a really good grade in your coursework, it can pull up your overall grade because it does count towards your A-level grade. You know, it's sort of almost like a bit of an insurance or like a bit of a safety net. Like, if you have a bad day and an exam goes horribly, you know that at least you've got that coursework grade that's going to pull it all up, if that makes sense. Like, that's how I viewed it. I think just really try your best with coursework. It can take a lot of time, but I also found it so fun. Like, English coursework was probably the highlight of year 12. Honestly, it was just such a nice thing because you choose what you want to focus on. The 7th thing is to really use your teachers and make sure you have a good relationship with them. You know, get them to mark essays, talk to them about if you're finding something difficult, but also just to mention, like, your relationship with teachers is going to be slightly different at sixth form. I think I really noticed the way that they talk to us change. It's no longer this, I'm the adult and then you're the child and I'm teaching you. It's more of an equal relationship. You're treated as an adult and it's all about collaboration. Like, you put forward ideas, they put forward ideas, you talk about it, especially for English because it is more of a like interpretation subject. But with science subjects, so like psychology, yes, you are learning from your teachers, but you do get to contribute, and it still feels a lot different to the way that you learn at GCSE. The 8th thing I wanted to say is about the sort of slight differences in sixth form. So loads of people fuss about like the fact that you can wear your own clothes and the fact that you can leave school sometimes at lunch and like freeze and go home or go to the shops. I would say that all these things feel very liberating. I think it just gives you this opportunity to turn into your own person and like become an adult. About own clothes, no one really cares what you wear. I think like for the first few weeks everyone's like tries really hard, and I think it is nice to dress nicely. Like, I always try to feel nice and smart, and like that makes me feel more motivated at school, but I don't think you should stress about it in the least, and like, yeah, don't worry about it. I feel like some people do. The 9th thing is that year 12 is definitely a time of change. Friendships change because people leave, new people will arrive at school. You're also thinking about university and the fact that you might be moving out in a year or 2 years' time. There's just a lot going on, and I think it's important to not get overwhelmed by it and try to move with that change. Yes, you're growing up, and yes, it's scary, but it can also be very exciting. The last 10th thing I wanted to say is that you will change and you will grow a lot in year 12. Looking back at myself like this time last year when I was doing all my back to school videos, it's kind of crazy because I look so much younger. I think even physically, maybe it's just me, but I think looking back at those videos, I also notice how much I've changed, because I think inside I've changed, like mentally. I've gone through a lot this year, which I talked about in my year 12 reflections video, but I don't think it's just because I went through a lot personally. I think in general, going from the age of 16 to 17, some people almost turning 18 soon, is a huge change. I do think that you start sixth form as still a child, teenager, and I think by the end of year 13 you do leave as an adult. I do see that even with the years above, like how much they've changed and grown, and I'm sure I will change even more the next year. And I look back at myself now thinking, oh, she was so young. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that this did help if you are starting year 12 next year, and put you at ease if you were worrying about it. But yes, the back to school content is starting. It is exciting. I will see you in my next video, which probably will be a stationary haul actually. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Mwah.